Yo, what's going on YouTube? It is Dom and I'm back again for another episode of the world's most thought-provoking talk show. And so today what I want to talk about is, what is gender? Okay, has anybody looked up exactly how many genders there are in the world? Right? So if the first thing you look up, right, if you grab your phone and you Google it, what ends up coming up is 58 is the first one that comes up at the top. And then the next one is 72. I'm old school, right? I'm very, very old. I'm very, very old school, to the point to where I grew up to where there was only 2 genders, right? But now we have to be more inclusive and think about what other people are saying. We have to figure out a way to include other people's genders. However, I feel like there is a sect of this world that only wants to just think in our old ways, right? That there are only 2. We can't think like that. I think we have to be able to be a little more progressive. I only believe that there are 2 genders, right? Like, I'm old, like, again, I'm an old guy. However, if somebody else believes that there's 58 or there's 72, that's their belief. That's what they believe. That's how they want to be expressed. So who am I to say that this person can be who they want to be? What makes us better? What makes us holier than thou? Biology, there's so many different ways to tackle this question. You know, who should you ask? What questions should you ask? And who are we to judge? We're not perfect, right? I think that as long as what they're doing doesn't really affect me in a negative way, you know, who am I to say that they can't be or act how they want to act? Just because I don't believe something that they believe doesn't make it any more substantial. I think when it comes to fighting for certain rights though, I think you have to have the same beliefs. I think to fight for somebody's rights, you have to believe in the same thing. I know there's a huge fight right now for different pronouns and different things in the world when it comes to gender. Whether it's any of the 58 or any of the other 72 genders that there are, or actually are, however you want to phrase it. So you may be looking at this conversation and saying, what was the point of this video? The point of the video was just to bring up that not everybody thinks the same, not everybody believes the same thing. So how do we incorporate and bring about people that have a different ideology than we have? Maybe the question isn't so much about gender, but how do we be more inclusive in society without actually hurting the society that we currently have? Does including somebody else's beliefs and ideologies hurt what we currently have? Or does it actually depend on what the ideology is that they're pushing versus the one that we currently have? It's a tough, complex question, especially when we talk about gender. What can we actually do to progress the question further? What can we do better? I guess that's really my question for the audience, 10 or 20 people that watch my video right now. What can we do to actually push the conversation further? What can we do to help the world? How could we actually sit down and really have a good, strong conversation about this? Because this isn't really about LGBTQ, it's more about genders. And I'm so old school with the 2 genders. And then I see my niece growing up, and she talks about all the pronouns and things, and I just think about, wow, like I have a lot to catch up and learn about. I think there are solid arguments from both sides though. Definitely solid arguments from both sides. I think the way I think, because whenever I try to invest or I believe something, I try to look up every single counter argument for it. And there's always some valid, constructive criticism that you can take. If you guys have any questions, comments, concerns, you guys can drop them in the bottom. And without further ado, that sounds like that.